Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering. Here we have Baden on Show and Tell versus Eli on a blue-red Delver. May just be the best deck in the format. Got a Ponder. Certainly takes advantage of some of the new printings from Modern Horizons 2. Murktide Regent. Ragavan, Dragon's Rage Channeler. Also recent printings like Expressive Iterations. It seems like there's no shortage of new cards for this shell that's been around forever and been a legitimate contender the whole time. We have a Hardcast Ponder trying to stop this Ponder, and Baden able to daze back. Eli looking to preserve a little bit of his mana base, and it looks like a Show and Tell. Now force a negation, force back. We've got some fireworks starting out early. Show and Tell puts in Omniscience, but has to pass the turn. Not ideal, but you know what? Free board. This is a really good spot to be in. It's going to be very difficult to contend with a Omniscience on board. Really obsoletes this Wasteland for the most part. Baden will only need his mana to pay the extra one for days, for example. However, nothing in hand to cast. Expressive Iteration keeps the ball rolling on Eli's side of the table. Expressive Iteration typically a draw 2, always digging 3. Got a Ragavan off to the side. Looks it. So he remains in exile. He'd be very welcome in this matchup. Lots of common cards. Probably not the best matchup for it, but now a Murktide Regent. The big one. 5. Not as big as Emrakul, and that'll do. Emrakul off the top. Murktide Regent shows up as a 5/5, the new blue Tombstalker. I'll tell you, anytime that a card is time shifted, color swapped, whatever you want to call it. How they called them? Time shifted? No, that's the reprints. Whatever they called it in Planar Chaos, where they kind of warped and reimagined cards just in different colors. For example, Harmonize, as opposed to Concentrate, that type of stuff. Just really interesting. The different color pie elements, and when you have a 2 blue for a potential Tombstalker, 5/5 flyer on average at least, that all of a sudden becomes a lot more interesting than you need to pay double black. I don't think there's really any blue decks that were super keen to run Tombstalker. Gurmag Angler definitely made the cut. Many decks. But now blue-red Delver doesn't even need to stray into splash colors to get that extra attack power on board. Traditionally, blue-red Delver didn't really have that much in terms of punch. You're talking about swarms of 1/1 tokens with Young Pyromancer. You had Dreadhorde Arcanist hitting for 1. I mean, it wasn't really known for massive stats in terms of power and toughness. And now Murktide Regent really, really changing that. Not obvious what direction Delver strategies or blue decks in general are going to end up going in the wake of this set. I mean, there's a lot of Magic to be played. There's going to need to be a lot of tournaments. And we're going to eventually find out over time what some of the best possible shells are for these cards, but this is a ton to take in all at once, similar to Modern Horizons 1, which I don't even think we fully digested that set, to be honest. I mean, there's still a lot of cards in there, like Hagak, that I just don't feel get nearly as much play as they could. They'll actually get really interesting now that there's so many free creatures. Vengevine shells, great usage. That is not what we have on the board here. Got a couple of blue decks. Classic matchup, combo versus aggro control style Delver deck. And Blue-Red Delver now the most popular of those variants at this open series. We've had a few players that have been tried and true Blue-Red players the whole time through, be it either budget concerns or just honestly believing that it was correct to not be stretching your mana base for those extra colors. But now, there's not a whole lot of argument for the third color. Got a Lotus Petal enabling a Brainstorm with a fetch land already on board. Not a typical line. Very often those Lotus Petals are going to be used to reach Show and Tell mana. A lot of activity here. Double Lotus Petal and a Brainstorm. And a Ragavan. Wow. The monkey in Show and Tell. He dashes and trades with the Dragon's Rage Chanter. A Ponder for Eli. Not expect that turn to end with a hasty monkey. Dragon Rage dying does make future Dragon Rage channelers better. Have instant sorcery, land, and creature pretty easily. It's just take a Brainstorm or Counter Spell. That fetch land will take care of the land part, so future Dragon Rage channelers very likely to be solid. Of course, they do have to attack. Occasionally a liability in this type of matchup where you might want a blocker for a particularly scary creature. It's the corner case. At the very least, you would want to be able to crack back, for example, by a Gristlebrand. Though honestly, Murktide Regent could outclass Gristlebrand. It can be an 8/8. Scary Dragon. For just 2 time. I think every time I've seen it on camera. Again for Eli. Deck so much less convincing. Now he's playing this a little bit like a Ponder. 3. Really like his hand. Now mixing together, which I think is just the right play. I don't like the mechanics of keeping them separate. Technical perspective, I think it's much, much stronger. Even just not letting your opponent know what's going on in terms of cards in hand. Another island. Bulks for Eli so far. And now finally a Delver of Secrets and a second Delver of Secrets. So this could wrap things up pretty quickly. I would need to do. About what this is. I think this is the 3-mana tutor. Sinner Sorcery. Force of Negation revealed and Delver's flipping. One of the last cards that Baden would want to see on top of the library. Not only is it a free pitch counter, but it just so happens to be castable for 3 mana. Exactly what Eli already has available. Would be at any time. Has some type of end step. Oh, but just plowing forward anyways. Eli's got some decisions to make. He will go with a pitched Force of Negation. Force of Will back. Daze is being pitched so far. Now Force pitching Force. Eli going Hellbent, but hoping that this can hold on. Have these two Delvers carry the day, but a Flusterstorm comes in and clears the stack. Now Show and Tell puts in Omniscience again. Baden empty-handed. Can he get there? No. Lotus Petal. Brutal. So winning that counter battle, but not enough to carry the day. We're on to game number 3. Omniscience does not do anything unless you have other cards to go along with it. This was part of our ELD Legacy Open first major event back. 30 players in store. That playmat going to the champion. Baden leads out with Island Go. Panic Island for Eli. Have a threat. There's a ton of them in the deck now. Delver, Ragavan, and Dragon's Rage Channeler all doable early. No, he's going to Brainstorm. Is the main phase Brainstorm? It was main phase Brainstorm. Seen Flusterstorm. It's early in the game. See. Resting. Got a fetch which gets stifled. Not a card you expect out of Show and Tell. Eli likely okay with that, though he wasn't able to set up the library with that main phase Brainstorm for this Delver to flip. Or he just didn't choose to. The Brainstorm in hand instead of on top, revealed for top of library. Perhaps an extra blue card, perhaps the only blue card pitch. That would be a reason to keep that in hand rather than have the Delver flip. Also, he expected to be shuffling there, so I suppose playing around days there, or stifle, not reasonable. By expecting to have been able to use that Brainstorm to ensure a flip during Baden's end step, or just whenever the Brainstorm resolved. I'll ponder. Mana base continuing to grow. It gets outside of Day's range, things get dicier and dicier. I'm going to be tutoring for a Show and Tell, so next turn is going to be very dangerous. Definitely in the danger zone here. Show and Tell with at least one extra blue mana. That could represent Flusterstorm. It could represent the ability to pay for days. Not the situation Eli wants to be in. Really, Delver decks want to have a flipped Delver, a dwindling life total on the other side of the board. Opponent unable to throw haymakers that could potentially just end the game, and instead, Baden's going to start testing the waters. At any point, Eli doesn't have enough protection to stop this. It's going to, at the very least, result in a Omniscience in play by itself. Will we see that for the third game in a row? Perhaps. Would be a Gristlebrand or an Emrakul. Or, of course, worst case scenario, Omniscience plus Emrakul. Just casting it, getting the extra turn. Blue-Red Delver has so many potential counters. And Baden's just pedal to the metal. See a flash of red in his hand in a mono blue deck. So there's Force of Will. His side of the board as well. Starts out with Eli, forcing, pitching, Expressive Iteration. Baden likely to save this Flusterstorm towards the end. No, he's going to Flusterstorm now. So that Force of Will's very, very done. Force back. I believe there's an Omniscience off camera as Ragavan was put in for Eli. 5 damage comes across, and Emrakul is revealed to Ragavan. What a mischievous little monkey. He just stole the win. Emrakul off the top would have been game over. Now a Brainstorm. Leaving a little bit of a choice here for Eli. Dragon's Rage Channeler can get rid of this card or it can join Eli's hand. He says it's good enough. Dragon Rage Channeler gives that card selection continually. Be underappreciated by novice players, but the stronger players are certainly going to take every little edge, every little percentage point to get closer to victory. Similar to Delver of Secrets. Oh, and Pyroblast takes out the Omniscience, and that is it. So 3 games in a row, a naked Omniscience. Just not able to take it down there for the third one. That is a tough matchup for both decks.